In this section, we're going to take a look at attacking patterns of play. We caught a glimpse of this early when looking at shape and how it affected how LAFC played with the ball in the defensive and middle thirds, but when put under pressure or in the final third, sometimes shape goes out the window, and a team has to rely on individual brilliance and practiced patterns of play. Let's start from the back before we get to attacking in the final third. When LAFC were put under pressure in their own half, they would often rely on an up back through to get out of danger. The ball goes up, vertically to a player whose back is the goal. At the same time, a midfielder or defender drops under that pass to receive the layoff, the back. And now the opponent is overstretched. They've stepped up to prevent the first pass from breaking any lines, and they collapse on the ball. The layoff now opens areas ahead of the ball, and the player who received the back pass can now push it forward and break the lines of the pressing defense and begin to run at their back line. This is just one such play that LAFC used when put under pressure to get out of it, albeit one that they could rely on often. Having that man underneath the up pass meant that even if the defender makes a tackle, there is a player there to clean up and not only prevent the opponent from gaining possession in an advanced area, but also to then initiate a counter of their own. Once they've played out and moved into that final third, LAFC wanted to get the ball into these three areas in the attacking zones to optimize the attack: Zone 14 and the two half spaces. In the half spaces, either winger Diego Rossi or Carlos Vela are free to tuck inside and to allow the fullbacks to overlap, which gives the inverted winger the chance to cut inside and make a shot at the top of the box, pull a reverse pass for the overlapping run, play into Zone 14, or make a final cutting pass that bypasses the defense. The two attacking midfielders are also free to occupy this zone. The shape LAFC would then take up is with the fullbacks tucked into defensive midfield and width created by the wingers. In Zone 14, between the lines, there are a few options of players who step in. Adama Diomande, the center forward, can drop to receive this pass, but Bob Bradley usually wants his most advanced player to drift out and play off the shoulder of the center back, so his occupation of Zone 14 usually relies on another player playing ahead of him. If Diomande is in that more advanced role, then any midfielder or winger is free to move into that space. Diego Rossi moved there on occasion, but usually only tucked in as far as the half space when drifting inside. Carlos Vela, on the other hand, would often move into Zone 14 to play as that second striker playing between the lines. If not Vela, the midfielders Latif Blessing and Marc-Anthony Kaye could also move into this space in Zone 14, and even the defensive midfielder, Edward Atuesta, had forays into Zone 14. While important to creating passes and shots, this area is so often clogged up that it's difficult to employ when playing against teams that sit farther back, though playing into the half space can often lead to openings in Zone 14. Let's take a look at how LAFC played into these three spaces. The best ball into the half space was a vertical pass. A vertical ball, or one from the inside out, means that the attacker can receive the ball with a simple first touch on the half turn that allows them to drive inside and pull defenders on their heels. LAFC sometimes played into the half space with a horizontal pass from the wide area or even Zone 14. Coming in from the wing makes it difficult for the player receiving the ball, as his back is facing the middle of the field and often had to make a good play to get his body into a position to make the final pass. As in this play, where Atuesta has the middle of the field blocked off, but is able to cut downfield for this pass. Playing into Zone 14 is a bit different. There are certainly the vertical splitting passes, but those are more difficult to control, as there's certainly pressure from behind, putting the player in a difficult position to turn. The pass into Zone 14 is better coming from wide, often coming from those half spaces. These are the moments where LAFC could be the most dangerous. A defensive midfielder gets sucked out of position, and when the ball is played into Zone 14, players like Carlos Vela could finish easily from there, while midfielders like Kaye and Atuesta were deadly at opening the play and slotting Rossi or Vela behind the defense. The third way that play could enter the half space or Zone 14 was on the dribble. By playing with inverted wingers, that is, one whose dominant foot is on the inside of the field, Rossi and Vela were set up to be in positions where they could drive infield. The winger would take it centrally, and then could make the decisive pass or shot now that they were in a dangerous position in the half space. The third option arises again now, though. If there's no option for a pass or shot, the ball carrier can always continue to dribble, now entering Zone 14, and surely an opening has presented itself at this point. While the half space was an important area to play in, right between the fullback and the center back, of course many of LAFC's goals also came when Rossi or Vela were able to get to the outside of opposing defenders and not in the inside. The most important step to getting to that point was getting into zone 14, or at least between the lines, in the middle of the pitch, at which point the opponent's defense collapsed and became narrow, and LAFC could then play outside of the opposing fullbacks and get their wingers behind.